there's a driveway from the townhomes that backs right up to our fence.
Now, would you think that's a female friend or a male friend?
Honestly, I'm not going to put anything by it right now.
All right. Well, we appreciate you letting us go through your house.
No problem. I'm
definitely not in there.
No. Hey, hold on one second. Call you back. Bye-bye.
Was it in the car? So she came out the door then?
Yeah, Chris, I think,
What's your name again?
I'm Sergeant Bakes.
Sergeant Bakes.
Good to meet you.
So she doesn't have any family or anyone around here?
Neither of us do. They're all back in North Carolina. We moved here back in 2012. Came out here to visit some friends during Thanksgiving, fell in love with the place, moved out here a few months later.
Does she have any friends around here?
Just for friends?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's got friends in Frederick, Erie, Aurora, that part of Erie, Broomfield, Parker.
Have you tried to contact any of them?
Oh yeah, we've exhausted every option. The last thing I'm going to do is hospitals. Hotels. There's so many, but...
And no one's heard from her today? Have you checked your bank accounts?
That's another thing I was going to do, because I don't have access through here.
Let's go check those and see if she pulled any cash out, or if there's any strange charges or anything.
Okay.
Can you log?
I can't log in because she does all the finances.
Okay.
So I know her password. I just don't have her user ID. Not sure what she would have used that way. Sorry, my phone's just blowing up there.
No, you're fine. Who do you guys bank through?
USAA and Chase.
Can you call them and see if there's been any activity? Any withdrawals or anything? And then the suitcases that she came home this morning with, which ones were those? Was it
The black one that's sitting right there.
Not the one in the bedroom?
That was from the last trip, when we just got back a few days ago from North Carolina. She went to Arizona like 2 days later. That was when we just got put back down in the basement.
You guys don't have any stockpiles of cash or anything in the house that she would have had? If she needed cash, she needed to go to the bank to get it?
If there is, I would not know about it. If there was, I didn't know.
You know how much cash she usually carries with her?
It's usually not, maybe like 100.
Your turn signal's on.
It's been on. I may have to turn in a hurry.
What if I told you that a man stood in his own home, surrounded by police officers searching for his missing family, and calmly answered a phone call from his mistress? What if I told you that while investigators combed through children's bedrooms looking for any sign of two little girls and their pregnant mother, this man showed no emotion, no panic, no desperation? What if I told you that the biggest search effort in Frederick, Colorado's history was unfolding because of a lie so monstrous that when the truth finally emerged, it would shake the nation to its core? This is the story of Christopher Lee Watts, a story where a picture-perfect family Facebook page hid unspeakable darkness, where a man who appeared to be a devoted father became the person who destroyed his own children, where lies stacked upon lies until the weight of truth crushed them all, and where questions remain unanswered to this very day. Before we dive into one of the most disturbing cases in recent American history, I need you to do something. If you're drawn to stories that expose the darkness hiding behind ordinary facades, if you want to understand the psychology of deception and the pursuit of justice, then you need to subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. We don't just tell you what happened. We take you inside the investigation, show you the real footage, and ask the questions others won't. This channel is for those who aren't satisfied with surface-level coverage. We go deeper. We stay longer. We find the truth. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because what you're about to hear will stay with you long after this video ends. Now, let's begin. August 13th, 2018. Frederick, Colorado. A quiet suburban community where families felt safe, where children played in cul-de-sacs, where neighbors knew each other's names. On this particular Monday morning, that sense of security would be shattered forever. Shanann Watts, 34 years old and 15 weeks pregnant with her third child, a boy they planned to name Nico, had just returned from a work trip to Arizona. Her friend Nichol Kessinger had dropped her off at home around 2 in the morning. Shanann worked for a company called Lavelle, promoting health and wellness products. She was successful, driven, and deeply devoted to her family. Inside that home were her 2 daughters, Bella, 4 years old, with her father's eyes and her mother's smile, and Celeste, called Cece by everyone who loved her, just 3 years old. These little girls were Shanann's entire world. Anyone who followed her social media could see it. Videos of the girls playing, pictures of family outings, moments of ordinary joy that millions of families share online every single day. But behind the carefully curated posts, behind the smiling photos, something dark was growing. Christopher Watts, 33 years old, appeared to be a devoted husband and father. He worked at Anadarko Petroleum as an operator at an oil and gas exploration site. Co-workers described him as quiet, reliable, and unremarkable. He was the kind of person who blended into the background. The kind of person you would never suspect of harboring secrets. Except Christopher Watts was harboring secrets. Big ones. For months, he had been involved in an affair with a co-worker named Nichol Kessinger. She worked at Anadarko as well, and their relationship had begun earlier that summer. According to later statements, Nichol believed Christopher was separated from his wife and going through a divorce. Christopher had told her his marriage was ending, that he and Shanann were no longer intimate, that they were simply coexisting for the sake of the children until they could separate properly. This was a lie. Shanann had no idea Christopher wanted out of the marriage. While she was in Arizona on her work trip, posting photos and videos about her pregnancy and her excitement about their growing family, Christopher was at home planning something unthinkable. When Nichol Kessinger dropped Shanann off in the early morning hours of August 13th, she had no way of knowing what would unfold in the coming hours. She and Shanann had become close friends through their work with Lavelle. They texted frequently, checked in on each other, supported one another through life's challenges. So when Shanann didn't respond to text messages later that Monday morning, Nichol became concerned. This wasn't like Shanann. She was responsive, engaged, always in communication. Nichol knew Shanann had a doctor's appointment that morning, a routine prenatal checkup at 10:15. When Shanann didn't show up for the appointment and still wasn't answering her phone, Nichol's concern turned to genuine worry.
How you been?
Hi.
Here, Nicole?
Yes.
Okay, so what's going on?
So, my friend, we were out of town for a business trip this weekend.
Right.
And I dropped her off at 2 o'clock this morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant. She wasn't feeling well. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning at 9, and I told her to let me know if she needed me to take her. She's got 2 little girls. Her husband and her supposedly are separating, but she didn't know this. She thought they were just having issues. I called him, and I was like, have you talked or heard from Shanann since you left for work this morning? Because I can't get a hold of her. I've called, I've texted. Her car's in the garage. Her shoes she wears every single day are right in the front door.
She only has one vehicle?
No, they only have the one vehicle in his work truck.
Okay. Shanann, are you home? Police department, if anyone's inside, make yourself known. Yeah, I mean, I don't see anything out of place. I'm not hearing kids. I'm not hearing anything.
Nichol drove to the Watts home. Shanann's car was in the garage. Her phone appeared to be inside the house. Her purse, her medication, everything was there, But Shanann, Bella, and Celeste were nowhere to be found. The house was locked up tight. No signs of a struggle. No indication of where they might have gone. But every maternal instinct Nichol possessed was screaming that something was terribly wrong.
Hi, Stacey. My name's Nicole, and I'm calling because I'm concerned about a friend of mine. I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning last night because we were out of town together, and we were on the way back from the airport, and she's having issues, and she's pregnant. And I haven't been able to get a hold of her this morning, and I've gone to her house, and her car's there, and stuff like that, but she won't answer the door, she won't answer phone calls, she won't answer text messages, and I'm just really, really concerned. And she had a doctor's appointment this morning, and she didn't go to it, and I don't know what to do. I've called him and talked to him, and he said that she went on a play date with her other 2 daughters, but, like, if she went on a play date, they're both in car seats. Why would she not take her car?
Perfectly understandable. Do you happen to know her address, Nicole?
I'm asking to send up at her house. It's 2825 Saratoga Trail in Frederick. And then I said, like, Chris, can you just come home and check to make sure she's okay? Because the shoes she wears every single day are right inside her door. And he was like, yeah, I'll be there in 3 minutes. Well, that was 45 minutes ago. And I called him and asked him again, can you please come home? And he's like, I'm 45 minutes out.
Okay, Nicole, I'll go ahead and call in. I just need you, if you could please repeat her address to make sure I have it entered correctly.
2825 Saratoga. It's SARCOGATR.
Okay.
Everything stands for trail.
Thank you. And can I get a phone number that you're calling me from? Area code first.
970.
Thank you. Okay, Nicole, tell me exactly what happened.
So, we were out of town for work, and we flew in last night. Our flight got delayed, and I dropped her off at her house at 2 in the morning. She's 15 weeks pregnant, and she wasn't feeling well over the weekend, and she was very, like, distraught and out of the sorts because her and her husband are having issues. So, I was concerned because she wasn't, like, eating or drinking and stuff like that. So then this morning, I was like, let me know if you need me to take you to your doctor's appointment because you're not feeling well. And I have called and texted. I've come to her house. She's not answering the door. She's not responding to text messages, phone calls. I've had other friends reach out to her. None of us can get her to respond to us. They have 2 little girls that are 3 and 4. I mean, there's no movement in the house whatsoever. And he states that she didn't take them to daycare and was going to go on a play date, but they're both in car seats and her car is here.
What's her name?
It's in the garage. And I'm like, what's the name? Huh?
What's her name?
Shanann Watts. It's SHANANN Watts, WATTS.
Do you know her date of birth or how old she might be?
Oh, if you would have asked me that, I would know it.
That's okay. If you just know her approximate age, that's okay.
He's in her 20s, early 30s.
Bear with me here one moment. When was the last time that you heard from her?
When I dropped her off at her house, I watched her, made sure she got in the house. That was at 2 a.m. It was actually 1:55. I literally lived like 5-10 minutes from her.
And her vehicle is it parked in the garage?
Yes. It's a light Lexus.
Okay.
And I probably, because I was concerned, I know I don't want to get a doctor's office in trouble, but I went to the doctor's office because I've been used them as doctors, and I said, I know you can't give me things because of HIPAA, but can you just tell me if she showed up at her appointment this morning? And the lady was like, no, she did not.
Okay. Is that's unusual behavior for her to not show up to her doctor's appointment?
No.
Okay.
No. Pregnancy, like, she was so excited and then got blindsided from her husband that he wanted to separate a week ago.
And her husband's name is Chris?
Yes, his name is Chris Watts.
And he told you that she went on a play date today with the girls. Okay. Yeah, with the 4-year-old. And she told me last night when we were driving home, she's like, the morning's going to suck because I have to take the girls to daycare tomorrow. And I made the statement, well, you could keep them home with you. And she was like, no, that'd be more exhausting. She was like, I have to get up and take them because I have a doctor's appointment at 9. Bear with me here one moment. I'm just typing this information in the call here. And I'm not trying to cause problems more between them. I just want to know she's okay. Okay. What's her phone number? No, give me 1 second and I'll look it up for you. It is 910-850-3286. Okay. And Chris told you that he was on his way. Yes, I just talked to him. Well, I talked to him here. One of our other friends did via text because I was going to the doctor's office, and she said he would be here in about 30 minutes, and that was at 1:08. And then I called him and said, Chris, I'm at your house. I'm not trying to cause drama or anything. I just need to know your life, okay? I was like, where are you? And he was like, I'm on I-70. I'm about a half hour to 45 minutes out. And I just said, okay, and then I hung up and called you guys because that, I mean, I'm just worried. Okay, Nicole, what kind of vehicle are you in right now? I'm in a white Dodge Dart. Okay. Alrighty, we do have a call in, Nicole. We'll have an officer come out that way as soon as we can. I would just advise you, to not try to make entry into the house or anything like that until the officers can get there. In the meantime, if you do hear from her, just give us a call back and let us know, okay? Okay. All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye. 2825 Saratoga Trail of a party who's checking on a friend who's pregnant who's not answering the door.
At 1:40 in the afternoon, Nichol Atkinson called 911 to report Shanann and the girls missing. This was approximately 13 hours after Shanann had arrived home from her trip. 13 hours during which Christopher Watts had been going about his day as if nothing had happened. He had gone to work that morning. He had attended meetings. He had sent text messages to Shanann's phone asking where she was. Messages he knew she would never read. Messages designed to create the appearance of a concerned husband. When police arrived at the Watts home, Christopher was called and asked to come home from work immediately. And this is where his performance truly began. This is where a man who had already committed acts so horrific that the mind recoils from imagining them would stand in front of police officers and concerned friends and lie with a calm that defies comprehension. Christopher Watts walked into his home that afternoon knowing exactly what he had done. He knew where his wife's body lay. He knew what he had done to his daughters. He knew everything. And yet, when he faced those police officers, when he looked into the eyes of Shanann's desperate friend, he became someone else entirely. He became a concerned father, a worried husband, a man confused and frightened by his family's disappearance. But body cameras were rolling. Every word, every gesture, every micro-expression was being recorded. And what those cameras captured would later reveal the truth in ways Christopher never anticipated.
All right. We'll have you sign a consent form. We just want to see if you left a note or anything inconspicuous, something like that. All right. If you're good with that, we'll have you sign a consent form allowing us to search your house, and we'll wait for our sergeant to get here. But we'll grab that. You don't plan on going anywhere, right?
No, I was just going to walk around the neighborhood just to clear my head.
Okay. Which company do you work for?
Anadarko.
What do you do for them?
Operator.
So you work like 7 days a week?
5 and 2, like Monday through Friday. I'm doing 8 and 6 next month.
Okay. So today is Monday?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. Let us grab that form, and then we'll wait for our supervisor, and then you can either stay here or you can go walk the neighborhood, whatever you'd like. While we look through it. All right, let's go grab that form. We'll be right back with you, okay?
You have to stay here?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You got one?
I think so. So Chris, it's your house. You can go inside with us if you'd like, or you could stay out here. It doesn't matter to us.
Doesn't matter. I mean, free reign, just whatever you got to do.
Okay.
Like I can chill on the decks on the side of the sun, but
Okay.
cool.
All right. Whatever you'd like. How long have you guys been married?
So we've been together 8 years, married 6 this year.
Okay. And this is very unusual behavior?
Yeah, we can get that dog out of here.
Okay.
She's gonna flip.
On the counter right here.
Okay. So when you guys come home, do you usually use the front door or the garage door? How do you guys?
I usually open the garage door, come in.
Okay.
She uses front or garage, it just kind of depends.
Okay. Is that a ring out there?
Oh, that was...
No, the doorbell, is that a ring
Yeah,
doorbell?
like when you got a visitor, it does, but I don't think the speaker is on to where you hear it, like by...
Okay. I guess my question for you is, would it show her leaving with the kids? Did you have any alerts?
If she came out here, yes. Like if...
Did you have any alerts today with that?
Just when her friends were here.
Does it only record when the doorbell rings, or anytime someone?
If you're like right here, it should just start. The proximity should hit up.
Okay. And if you had anything on that today?
Just her friends.
And what time was that?
12:10 and about 2 minutes afternoon.
Okay. But nothing between the time when she got here.
No, like she got here at 2. Only thing
This morning?
Yeah, 2 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
Like 1:48 on here. And the only thing that was weird was that the garage door said it was left open after I left, and it might have been the sensor, but like my phone doesn't show when
For your alarm?
Yeah, it doesn't show if it shuts.
And who's your alarm through?
Vivint.
Okay.
But Nikki, her friend that came here about 12:10, she said the garage door was shut when she got here.
Okay.
That was the only thing that was weird.
All right. Were you going to hang out there, or you want to come in here?
I'll sit right here.
Okay. Where's the purse at?
On the counter.
I'm still recording, so.
Yep. Let's do this.
Whose phone is that?
I believe that is his. Bomb overtook hers. That's from vomiting.
Is that a diary, or what is that?
It's for work, I believe. I was thinking it was possibly a diary, but it's talking about like motivation stuff.
How did you say the kids were?
Forest.
This is very neat for having 2 little kids.
When you watch the body camera footage from that first day, knowing what we know now, it becomes almost unbearable to witness. Christopher stands in his home, in the very rooms where he destroyed his family, and he performs. He wrings his hands. He claims he has no idea where Shanann and the girls could be. He suggests maybe Shanann took them to a friend's house. He says they had an emotional conversation that morning about their relationship struggles, but that she seemed fine when she left. Every word was calculated. Every suggestion was designed to point investigators away from the truth. He allowed police to search the house. He showed them the girls' bedrooms, their toys, their clothes. He stood in those rooms and maintained his performance even as officers looked for any clue about where these children might be. The neighbor's security camera became crucial early in the investigation. It had captured Christopher's truck pulling out of the driveway around 5:15 that morning. The footage showed Christopher loading items into his truck, though the angle and distance made it impossible to see exactly what he was loading. When police asked him about this, Christopher claimed he was loading tools for work. Just another normal morning. Just another routine day. But it wasn't routine, because by 5:15 that morning, Shanann was already deceased. And Bella and Celeste were in that truck, alive, about to be driven to the location where their father would end their lives.
Be in the area.
Okay.
So Chris, I might need your help a little bit.
Okay. Okay.
Where is, I'm assuming your wife, Sherry's in bed with you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look in there and then talk to your kids. Does she have any dirty laundry that hasn't been touched by anybody else besides her? Okay. Is any of your laundry in there with it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, I just think it's a family. It's gonna happen. How about all your kids' rooms?
So their laundry would be in the...
And has any of it been touched by you today?
I'll put it in there.
You put it in there?
Yeah.
How about dirty laundry?
This is the dirty laundry here.
Okay. You usually pick it up off the floor and put it in there?
Yep.
Beds? Have you touched their beds today?
I made them.
You made them. Okay. Do you like pick up the pillow, that kind of stuff, or you just like? Let me think here.
Sure. Let me see. Anything that...
Anything about
nothing
toys?
I've ever touched at all.
How about actually shoes would be good too? Shoes that maybe you haven't touched since they've worn them? Is there cleaning?
Yeah, they didn't. But sometimes the blankies get put in there.
Okay.
And that's the one she usually uses, the butterfly one.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you touched it today?
Yesterday when I put it on the bed.
Okay. Shoes?
Shoes are downstairs.
Okay. And probably your wife's shoes too.
Okay. Sophie's shoes and Bella's shoes on this side.
Okay. What's the most recent picture you remember her wearing?
Probably outside because they were wet from a pool party.
Okay.
Does that still work?
What day was that? 99.
That was on Saturday.
Okay.
Those are two right there.
Just be by
Put them up on the chair?
two different calls.
Okay.
One's going to be from KOA, another one is going to be for CIO request, and it's going to be the Denver
And
Post.
I definitely got wet, right? They were in there.
As the investigation intensified through that first day and into the next, Christopher's performance continued. He appeared on television pleading for his family's safe return. He stood in front of cameras and said he wanted them home. He said he missed them. He said he had no idea what could have happened. His voice cracked at what seemed like appropriate moments. His expressions appeared distraught. To anyone who didn't know the truth, he might have seemed like a devastated family man. But investigators were already beginning to see through the facade. His story had inconsistencies. His behavior didn't match his words. When they asked him to take a polygraph test, he agreed, probably believing he could maintain his performance even under that scrutiny. He failed, spectacularly. The polygraph examiner could see the deception clearly. When confronted with these results, when the walls began closing in, Christopher Watts finally started to crack. But even then, even as the truth began to emerge, he couldn't bring himself to admit the full horror of what he had done. Christopher Watts sat in that interrogation room on August 15th, 2 days after his family's disappearance, and he knew the game was over. The polygraph had failed. The investigators weren't believing his story. The evidence was mounting. He had two choices: continue lying and face the certainty of being proven wrong, or confess and try to control the narrative one last time. What he said next would shock investigators who thought they had seen everything. But it would also reveal that even in confession, Christopher Watts was still lying, still manipulating, still trying to make himself appear as something other than what he truly was.
I brought Graham in here because we want to talk to you about the results, okay?
Okay.
So, it was completely clear that you were not honest during the testing, and I think you already know that. You did not pass the polygraph test. Okay. So now we need to talk about what actually happened. I feel like you're probably ready to do that.
I didn't lie to you on that polygraph, I promise. Chris, I never stopped. Take a deep breath. I want you to take a deep breath right now.
There's a reason you feel sick to your stomach. And when people hold stuff inside, it makes you physically ill. And I can just tell on your face, I could tell from the second you walked in that you were wanting to just come clean and just be done with this. And I appreciate that because you knew sitting down in that chair that you weren't going to pass today, and you knew I was going to find out because I told you that. And then you continued to stay knowing that you could, at the end, say, you know what, I just need to get this off my chest. Like, I just need to tell you what happened. We're not here to play games. We're not here to do any of that with you. We just want to know what happened. So can you start from the beginning and tell us what happened?
Everything that I have told you, I did not lie on this polygraph. I don't know how much I could tell you right now. Like, I did not.
It's not right now because you did not pass the polygraph. So I know you were being deceptive. So that's not even an issue right now. The issue right now is what happened to Shanann, Bella, and Celeste. That's the issue right now. Okay. So let's talk about that. I know you want to tell us. I can see it in your face. Holding this lie in is going to do nothing for you.
I know this. Like, okay. I'm not like trying to like cover things up. Like,
yeah, but you kind of, because it's normal. Normal people will do that. Normal people that make a mistake initially are going to go, I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. That's normal. I would expect that. It's just like if you ask your kid, you know, did you write on the wall? And they go, no. And you're like, you have marker on your hand. Like, I know you just wrote on the wall. And they're like, oh, okay. That's a natural reaction that someone's going to initially lie about something like that and then eventually tell the truth. So this is your eventually telling the truth time. This is where the rubber meets the road, Chris. Like, don't let this continue any longer, please.
I'm not trying to make anything continue. Like, I want them back home, like.
But you know they're not coming back home. You know that.
I don't know in the back of my head. I hope they come back home.
But you know they're not.
I hope they come back home.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know they're not coming back home.
Chris, Tim, and I'm confused. Okay. And here's what confused about me. I told you that we've done some work overnight.
Yeah.
I told you that we booked out a lot of movies. Okay, that wasn't why. We don't love a lot more than we think we do. Okay. And here's what we're confused. You're this great guy. I'm not just telling you that, okay? I'm telling you that because everyone tells us that. Okay? We can't find anyone to say anything bad about you. Chris is a great guy. He's a good father. He's a good man. We're confused as to why you're not taking care of your beautiful children.
I'm not taking care of them right now.
Right now. Okay, everything.
I don't know where they're at. I do not know where they're at. If I could have my babies back home right now, I would. I want them back. I want everybody back. That is the God's honest truth.
Can't figure out why there's two Chris's. Okay? We talked about that last night.
Yes.
We just can't figure it out. There's a Chris, okay? If somebody asks me, like, routine, I'll say, that's the truth, right? So, it is very surprising to me, and it warms my heart that you're the type of dad who can pack a bag in the morning. And you know just what to put in there. You know just what to put in there as a backup in case they have an accident. Okay? You know what the clothes to put in there. You know what they have for breakfast. You know what they have for a snack and a dinner and a nighttime snack. You can tell me the book you read to your daughters. Okay? I really love them. And you're not faking that, are you? That's real. Okay? There's a lot of guys that come in here and try to tell you that. And I know they're lying. Okay? Because they can't answer those questions that you can answer. Okay? But you weren't here today lying about something else. So we need to talk about that, okay? That's your daughter. I know. And she's very good.
Yeah, I'm not proud of it. I didn't think anything like that could happen. I don't think I would ever do it, but I did. She accused me of it. I denied it. She was hard, and I felt horrible for it. Like, she was pregnant, and it was. I don't want to. I didn't hurt her. I cheated on her. I hurt her emotionally. I cheated on her. And I feel absolutely horrible about this, but that's what I've been holding. I think when I think really about the game, I was with her. I was in that with her. That 5 weeks I was alone, I was with her most of the time.
You're doing a good job. This is the Chris that I knew would come out today. This is the Chris who tells the truth because you're a truth teller.
In the interrogation room, Christopher Watts finally admitted that his family was deceased. But the story he told was yet another lie, one designed to minimize his culpability and garner sympathy. He claimed that he had told Shanann he wanted a separation. He said she became emotional and went upstairs to the girl's room. Then, he claimed he saw on the baby monitor that Shanann was strangling Celeste. He said he rushed upstairs and witnessed Bella's lifeless body on her bed and Shanann actively hurting Celeste. In his telling, this sent him into a rage, and he strangled Shanann. He claimed he killed his wife because she killed their daughters. It was a domestic tragedy, he suggested. A spontaneous crime of passion after discovering an unthinkable act. Investigators didn't believe him. The timeline didn't work. The evidence didn't support it. The behavior of someone who had just discovered their children deceased at the hands of their spouse would look nothing like Christopher's calm, calculated actions that day. But he had admitted to knowing where the bodies were, and that was enough to arrest him. Christopher led investigators to the Survey 319 oil site, a remote location operated by Anadarko Petroleum. It was the kind of place where you could be completely alone, where you could do something terrible and have no witnesses. Shanann's body was buried in a shallow grave near the oil tanks. But Bella and Celeste, their locations were even more disturbing. Christopher had pushed their small bodies through 8-inch hatches at the top of oil tanks. Bella was in one tank. Celeste was in another. These little girls who had trusted their father completely, who had loved him unconditionally, were submerged in crude oil. The retrieval of their bodies took hours. Workers had to drain thousands of gallons of oil from those tanks. And when Bella and Celeste were finally recovered, the image of what had been done to them haunted every person involved in that recovery. The autopsy results revealed the true horror. Shanann had been strangled manually. The medical examiner found no evidence that she had harmed her children. None. Christopher's story about finding her hurting the girls was a complete fabrication. Bella and Celeste had been suffocated. The autopsy showed that Celeste had traces of crude oil in her stomach, which meant something even more unbearable. She was still alive when she was pushed into that oil tank. And Bella showed signs that indicated she may have witnessed what happened to her sister before her own life ended. These children watched their father. They saw him. They knew him. And in their final moments, they may have understood what was happening. On November 6th, 2018, Christopher Watts pleaded guilty to 9 counts, including 5 counts of first-degree murder. By pleading guilty, he avoided a trial. Shanann's family wouldn't have to sit through weeks of testimony. The details wouldn't be dissected in open court. The community wouldn't have to relive every moment of this tragedy through a lengthy legal proceeding. But there was a condition to the plea deal. Christopher had to sit for another interview with investigators. He had to tell them what really happened. And in February 2019, during a 5-hour prison interview, he finally told a version of events much closer to the truth.
You would like to make on behalf of the prosecution? Yes, please.
Your Honor, there are no words to adequately describe the unimaginable tragedy that brings us before this court today. By my comments, I'm not even going to try to express the horror, the pain, or the suffering that the defendant has caused to these families, to this community, and to all who were a part of this investigation. However, I do want to spend a few minutes sharing with the court the details of the crime, as so far you've only had an opportunity to review the affidavit and a few facts here and there that have been offered to the court in the motions and pleadings that have been filed. The questions that have screamed out to anyone who will listen since August 13th of 2018 are why and how. Why did this have to happen? How could a seemingly normal husband and father annihilate his entire family? For what? These are the questions that only one individual in this courtroom or on this planet knows the answers to. I fully expect we will not receive the answers to these questions today, nor will we at any point in the future. I don't expect that he will ever tell the truth about what truly happened or why. Even if he did, there is no rational way that any human being could find those answers acceptable responses to such horrific questions. The best we can do is try to piece together some kind of understanding from the evidence that is available to us. And the evidence tells us this: the defendant coldly and deliberately ended 4 lives, not in a fit of rage, not by way of accident, but in a calculated and sickening manner. Shanann was 34 years old. She had married the defendant in November of 2012. Over the weekend leading up to August 13th, she had been at a work conference in Phoenix, Arizona, and returned home in the early morning hours of August 13th. We know that she got home about 1:45 in the morning. The doorbell camera on their home shows her arriving back home from the airport. Shortly thereafter, at least according to the defendant, they had what he referred to as an emotional conversation about the state of their marriage and about what their lives would look like going forward. What was said during that emotional conversation, only he knows. What we do know is that shortly after that, the defendant strangled her to death with his own hands. We know that he slowly took her life the morning of August 13th. We know that this was not done in an uncontrolled, vengeful manner that he tried to describe to agents from CBI and the FBI. If that were the case, you would expect to see vicious, horrible bruising about her neck, shoulders, and face. You would expect to see the hyoid bone in her neck broken. You would expect to see some kind of defensive wounds on his body as she struggled and fought for her own life. None of those are present. The only injuries that were on Shanann's body were one set of finger or bruising, what appeared to be fingernail or finger mark bruising to the right side of her neck. We know that our experts will tell us that it takes 2 to 4 minutes to strangle someone to death manually with their own hands. The horror that she felt as the man that she loved wrapped his hands around her throat and choked the life out of her must have been unimaginable. Even worse, what must Bella, age 4, and Celeste, age 3, must have experienced or thought as their father, the one man on this planet who was supposed to nurture and protect them, was snuffing out their lives. They both died from smothering. Let me say that again. The man seated to my right smothered his daughters. Why? Imagine the horror in Bella's mind as her father took her last breaths away. Your Honor, understand very clearly, Bella fought back for her life. The frenulum, the connective tissue between her upper lip and her gum, had a centimeter and a half laceration. She bit her tongue multiple times before she died. She fought back for her life as her father smothered her. Celeste had no such injuries. In fact, she had no external injuries at all. But according to the medical examiner, she was smothered nonetheless. The defendant then methodically and calmly loaded their bodies into his work truck, not in a hasty or disorganized way. He was seen from the neighbor's doorbell camera backing his truck into the driveway, going back and forth into the house and back out to the truck 3 different times, 1 time for each of their bodies. He then drove them away from their family home 1 final time, intent on hiding any evidence of the crimes that he had just committed. In 1 final sign of callousness for his wife, his daughters, and their unborn son, and their remains, he drove them to a location that he thought no one would ever find them, to one of the oil tank batteries with which he was so familiar. He knew this was safe. He had texted a coworker the night before saying, "I'll head out to that site. I'll take care of it." He had carefully ensured that he would be alone in the middle of the plains to secrete away the remains of his family in a place that he hoped they would never be found. In 1 final measure of disrespect for the family he once had, he ensured that they would not be together, even in death, or so he thought. He disposed of them in different locations. He buried Shanann and Nico in a shallow grave away from the oil tanks. Bella and Celeste were thrown away in the oil tanks at this facility. Different tanks, so these little girls wouldn't be together in death. Imagine this, Your Honor. This defendant took those little girls and put them through a hatch at the top of an oil tank, 8 inches in diameter. Bella had scratches on her left buttocks from being shoved through this hole. A tuft of blonde hair was found on the edge of one of these hatches. The defendant told investigators that Bella's tank seemed emptier than CC's because of the sound that the splashes made. These were his daughters. Significantly, when his co-workers arrived at the tank battery later that morning, to a person, they all described him as acting completely normally. It was a normal workday, even while his daughters sank in the oil and water not far away from him. And then his efforts at deception truly began. We've all seen the emotionless interviews that the defendant gives to the local media, asking for help in locating his family. We watched as he claimed that the house was empty without them, and that he hoped that they were somewhere safe, and that he just wanted them to come home. He told investigators that they were at home sleeping when he left for work that morning, and that Shanann had told him that she was taking the girls to a friend's house for the day. What is striking about this case, Your Honor, beyond the horrors that I've already described to you, is the number of collateral victims that he created by his actions. While he stood in front of TV cameras asking for the safe return of his family, scores of law enforcement officers, neighbors, friends, and family scoured the area, fretted for their safe return. They texted him begging for any information and sending him their best wishes, all the while he hid what he had done. The list of indirect victims does not end there. Think of the firefighters and the Colorado State Patrol hazmat experts who had to don protective suits and who were called upon to pull Bella and Celeste out of those oil tanks, or the coroner employees who had to conduct these autopsies.
He admitted that he killed Shanann first. They had an emotional conversation in their bedroom in the early morning hours of August 13th. According to Christopher, he told her he wanted a separation. She became upset, and then he strangled her. He said Bella walked in and saw her mother on the bed. She asked, "What are you doing to Mommy?" He took her back to her room and told her Shanann was sick. Then he loaded Shanann's body into his truck. He woke the girls and told them they were going on an adventure. These trusting children, who had no reason to fear their father, got into the truck. During the 45-minute drive to the oil site, Celeste asked if the same thing that happened to Mommy was going to happen to them. She was 3 years old, and somehow she knew. At the oil site, Christopher suffocated Celeste first, using a blanket. Then he walked to the oil tanks to dispose of her body. When he returned, Bella was still alive. She had witnessed at least part of what happened to her sister. She pleaded with her father. She begged, and then Christopher suffocated her too. The prosecutor spoke at his sentencing about the cruelty of these acts, about the betrayal, about the fact that these children's last moments were filled with fear and confusion inflicted by the one person who should have protected them above all others. Christopher Watts was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, to be served consecutively. He was also sentenced to additional years for the unlawful termination of Shanann's pregnancy. In December 2018, he was transferred to a maximum security prison in Wisconsin for his safety, as authorities feared he might be targeted by other inmates. The case was closed. Christopher Watts was in prison for life. Justice, in a legal sense, had been served. But for anyone who followed this case closely, for anyone who watched the interrogations and read the discovery documents, there was a persistent feeling that something was missing. Questions lingered. Timelines didn't quite add up, and one name kept appearing in those questions: Nichol Kessinger.
Kids, and then it was Father's Day shortly after that, so that's what I do know. And I was like, I thought it was cute. And then he's telling me about him. He's pretty excited about him. And then he mentioned that he did have a significant other, and then he told me that those two were in the process of a separation.
Did he mention the children's name or his significant other's name?
I didn't know his significant other's name for a while. And then I think he told me his kids' names pretty quick, but to be honest with you, on an exact date of when that happened, I don't know.
So in May and June, first of all, where do you work?
I work at Anadarko Petroleum Corporation. I'm contracted to Anadarko Petroleum Corporation.
Okay, and you work out of an office setting where?
In Platteville, Colorado.
Okay. And Chris also works out of that location, per
yes.
se.
Yes. He's in the field, but he comes into the office with his team.
So you work, what is your job responsibility?
I do health, safety, and environment.
Okay. So you work in the office and you take care of health safety for, Anadarko is an oil and gas company, right?
Yes.
So you're doing health safety in the office, and Chris works in the field.
Yes.
As a, what kind of job does he do?
He's an operator. So I don't know like all of his daily duties, but he's a field operator, so he works with like the oil wells.
So he goes out and does work on those, whatever
Yes.
That work might be. But he comes into the office frequent.
In the mornings. His team meets in the mornings. They're not all in there every day. Some days some of them are in there, some days other ones are in there, but in the mornings typically from like 6:15 to probably 7, somewhere around there.
And is that where you met Chris?
Yes.
Okay. So can you just take us through kind of a little bit of the early part of how he courted you, or you courted him? I don't know which one happened. How you guys got to know each other?
I guess we just started talking. He actually, so part of my job is to manage the gas monitors that we have. So Anadarko requires all of their field personnel to carry like gas monitor sensors for toxic gases, and it's my job to control the inventory, any issues, anything like that. And we were having some pretty serious like equipment issues, and we had numerous amounts of people coming in my office one day, and he happened to be one of them. And I'd seen him before, like they meet in the lunchroom, and that's where I go put my lunch in the fridge. So I'd seen him, but I didn't ever like talk to him. So that day we just started talking, and then every time I saw him in the hallway,
We introduced ourselves in the lobbies and earlier, so we're just going to do that again real quick. My name's Kevin Kovac. I'm with the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and we're assisting the Frederick Police Department with this case involving Chris Watts. And this is Tim Martinez, also an agent at CBI. Sir, if you just introduce yourself.
Dwayne Kessinger. I'm Nicole's father.
Dwayne, what's your birthday?
November 3rd, 1958.
And home address for you, sir?
8801 West 65th Avenue.
What city?
And that's Arvada, 8004.
And a cell phone or a home phone, or where?
720-982-4547.
Thank you. And Nicole, can you just introduce yourself for the recording?
Nichol Kessinger. Do you need all the other stuff?
Yes, please.
I live at 12255 Clark Court, Unit 612, phone number 720-656-9605.
Claude Court, is that? I think we determined it was North Glen, right?
Yes.
You know your zip code?
80241.
Okay. Can you speak up just a little bit so the recorder? I know you're tired and you're stressed, and we won't be here any longer than we have to be. You've already had a conversation with people before. You came here on your own free will to talk to us. We picked you up at your request and brought you here. You can get up and leave at any time. You don't have to talk to us. If there's a question you don't want to answer, don't answer it. If you don't want to talk anymore, just tell me I want to leave. And I'm kind of in the way of the door, but you're not being interrogated as a criminal suspect. We're here to understand your relationship with Chris and what you know about Chris and his family, and events relating to Chris Watts. And do you know him as Chris or Christopher?
Either one.
Okay. So the phone number that you reached him on, can you tell me what that number was?
I think I deleted that out of my phone too. I just like cut him out of my life. It's a 910 number. You guys have it.
Now we gave it to Mark yesterday.
Yeah, I probably have it, but just in case.
I don't have it
If
anymore.
I recited it to you, would you know it?
Just the first 3 numbers.
But you know it as a 910 number?
Yes, that's what I do know. I mean, that's what I got.
North Carolina or something.
Yeah, North Carolina. Okay. So let's just start with like a timeline of your getting to know Chris, how you guys met, where you met, all those things. And let's just run. And I'm not going to ask you specific questions unless I think it's necessary. I'll let you just tell me your story. I think it's a little bit easier that way. So I just want to know how you met him, where you met him, how long you guys were dating, and those kind of things initially.
Okay. I think I met him sometime in June, probably early June. It might have been May. It was just talking at work. It was pretty casual. And he didn't have a wedding ring on his finger. And every time I talked to him, he didn't tell me that he was in a relationship. He didn't even mention his kids right away either. And then one day he told me that he had 2 kids. I was like, that's pretty cool. And started telling me about his kids.
That sounded like a sarcastic comment.
No, I thought it was kind of cute. I was like, oh, he's a dad. It was like right around Father's Day too. So whenever that is in June?
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm not good with holidays.
Nichol Kessinger cooperated with investigators. She sat for multiple interviews. She provided her phone records. She appeared devastated by what had happened and insisted she had no knowledge of Christopher's plans. According to her statements, she believed his marriage was ending, that he was in the process of separating from Shanann, and that they were building a relationship based on what she thought was honest communication. But here's where things get complicated. And this is where we must be very careful to stick to facts while acknowledging the questions that have emerged. Phone records showed that Nichol and Christopher were in frequent contact. They spoke for hours. They texted constantly. In the weeks leading up to the disappearance of his family, Christopher was spending significant time with Nichol, including the weekend before the events when Shanann was in Arizona. On the morning of August 13th, before Christopher went to work and before the police were called, there was contact between them. Internet search history from Nichol's phone, obtained during the investigation, revealed some searches that raised eyebrows. She had searched for information about Shanann Watts. She had looked up wedding dresses. She had researched Amber Fry, who was the mistress of Scott Peterson, another man who ended his pregnant wife's life in a highly publicized case. These searches occurred before Shanann and the girls were reported missing. When asked about these searches during her interrogation, Nichol provided explanations. She said she was curious about Christopher's wife. She said the wedding dress searches were just fantasies about her future. She said the Amber Fry search was because she wanted to understand what it was like to be the other woman in a high-profile case, which she worried she might become. Are these explanations reasonable? That's for each person to decide based on the available information. What we know for certain is that investigators interviewed Nichol Kessinger multiple times. They examined her phone. They looked at her location data. They investigated whether she had any foreknowledge of Christopher's plans or any involvement in the actual events. And after that investigation, no charges were filed against her. The district attorney's office determined there wasn't evidence to suggest she was involved in the planning or execution of these terrible acts. But the questions persist. Public petitions have been created asking for the investigation to be reopened with a specific focus on Nichol Kessinger. These petitions point to inconsistencies in her statements, unusual behavior in the days surrounding the events, and a general feeling that not everything adds up. Thousands of people have signed these petitions. Online communities dedicated to this case continue to analyze every detail of Nichol's involvement, every word of her interrogation, every timestamp in the phone records. It's important to state clearly, there is no evidence that has been made public suggesting Nichol Kessinger committed any crime. The investigation was handled by experienced detectives who had access to far more information than the public. If they believed charges were warranted, they would have pursued them. However, it's equally important to acknowledge that in cases this complex, especially cases that were resolved quickly through a guilty plea rather than a trial, some investigative avenues may not have been fully explored. When Christopher pleaded guilty, the pressure to build an airtight case disappeared. There was no need to examine every single thread, to question every single connection, because the perpetrator had confessed. Nichol Kessinger has since disappeared from public view. She reportedly changed her name and relocated, which is understandable given the intense public scrutiny and online harassment she faced. But her absence from the public eye has only fueled more speculation and more questions. Christopher Watts is currently incarcerated at Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, Wisconsin. He's been in protective custody for much of his sentence due to concerns about violence from other inmates. Cases involving harm to children often result in the perpetrator being targeted in prison, and Christopher's case is particularly notorious. Reports from inside the prison have emerged over the years. In 2025, letters written by Christopher Watts to various correspondents were obtained by media outlets. In these letters, he attempted to shift blame once again. He wrote about how women in his life led him to make bad decisions. He suggested that if not for his affair, none of this would have happened. He portrayed himself as someone who made a terrible mistake rather than someone who committed premeditated actions. These letters reveal that even now, even after all his confessions and his guilty plea, Christopher Watts still cannot or will not take full responsibility for his choices. He still seeks to minimize his culpability. He still tries to paint himself as something other than what he is. A man who destroyed his entire family for the chance at a new life with someone else. The Rzusek family, Shanann's parents and brother, have shown remarkable strength throughout this ordeal. They chose not to pursue the death penalty against Christopher, stating they didn't want to spend years going through appeals and retrials. They wanted closure. They wanted to be able to remember Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico without having to relive their deaths repeatedly in courtrooms. Frank Rzusek, Shanann's father, spoke at the sentencing about forgiveness. Not because Christopher deserved it, but because carrying hatred was too heavy a burden for a family already crushed by grief. Their grace in the face of unspeakable loss has been extraordinary. What turns a seemingly ordinary person into someone capable of destroying their entire family? This question has driven countless analyses of the Christopher Watts case. Psychologists, criminal profilers, and behavioral experts have all examined the available evidence to understand how this happened. Several factors emerged. Christopher exhibited traits of extreme conflict avoidance. Rather than deal with difficult situations directly, he would retreat, lie, or simply pretend problems didn't exist. When his marriage became strained, instead of seeking counseling or having honest conversations, he started an affair. When that affair made him want a different life, instead of pursuing divorce like millions of people do every year, he chose annihilation. There's also the element of image management. Christopher seemed deeply concerned with how others perceived him. He wanted to be seen as a good father, a good employee, a good person. The reality of being a divorced father, of having his affair exposed, of facing judgment from family and community, may have been unbearable to him. In his twisted logic, making his family disappear was preferable to being seen as the bad guy in a divorce. The affair with Nichol Kessinger clearly played a role as well, though not in the way some might think. The affair itself didn't cause the violence. Many people have affairs and don't harm anyone physically. But for Christopher, the affair represented a new life he wanted, a fresh start, a chance to be someone different. And his family stood in the way of that fantasy. Were there warning signs? In hindsight, some people close to the family reported noticing changes in Christopher's behavior in the months before the events. He started working out intensively, losing weight, paying more attention to his appearance. These are classic signs of someone involved in an affair. Shanann herself noticed these changes and mentioned them to friends, though she attributed them to positive life changes rather than infidelity. There were also financial stresses. The family was facing potential bankruptcy. Their home was in foreclosure proceedings. These pressures, combined with the pregnancy and the affair, created what some experts call a perfect storm of stressors. But again, millions of people face financial difficulties, relationship problems, and life pressures without resorting to violence. The truth is that Christopher Watts made a choice. Multiple choices, actually. He chose to lie. He chose to betray. He chose to take lives. And those choices make him solely responsible for what happened. 7 years have passed since August 13th, 2018. 7 years since Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Nico were taken from this world. 7 years during which this case has remained in the public consciousness, discussed, and analyzed by millions of people trying to understand how something so terrible could happen. Their story serves as a stark reminder that darkness can hide behind the most ordinary facades. That the smiling family photos on social media may not reflect the reality behind closed doors. That the quiet neighbor, the reliable co-worker, the seemingly devoted father might be harboring secrets that defy imagination. But their story is also about the importance of friendship. Nichol Atkinson's quick action in reporting Shanann missing likely prevented Christopher from getting away with his initial lie. Her refusal to simply assume everything was fine, her insistence that something was wrong, helped ensure that justice was served quickly. It's about the dedication of investigators who work these cases, who see the worst of humanity and still pursue truth with determination and professionalism. And it's about remembering the victims, not as characters in a true crime story, but as real people who loved and were loved. Shanann was a devoted mother, a successful businesswoman, a loyal friend. Bella was a sweet 4-year-old who loved to dance and play. Celeste was a joyful 3-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. And Nico never got the chance to take his first breath. The questions surrounding this case may never be fully answered. The debate about whether every avenue was thoroughly investigated will likely continue. But what we know for certain is that 4 innocent lives were stolen by someone they trusted completely. And that tragedy demands that we remember them, that we learn from their story, and that we remain vigilant about the darkness that can hide in plain sight. This is the kind of case that stays with you, that makes you look at the world differently, that reminds you that truth is often stranger and more disturbing than fiction. Here at Dark Trail Files, we don't shy away from these difficult stories. We examine them thoroughly, present the facts, and ask the hard questions. If this kind of deep dive investigation interests you, if you want to explore more cases that shocked the world and left unanswered questions, then make sure you're subscribed to this channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. And if you think others should hear this story, share this video. The more people who understand how these tragedies unfold, the better equipped we all are to recognize warning signs and potentially prevent future horrors. Thank you for watching Dark Trail Files. Until next time, stay vigilant, stay informed, and remember that justice may be delayed, but it should never be forgotten.